I remember him had a good big steel, and the flood come through.
You know, when we got ready to set up for a moonshine still, Dad would usually have a couple spots for us. And he'd take me and Ken and he'd say, okay, we got this spot, got this spot. He would leave it up to us because no matter, like I was his son and Ken is his nephew, but we still took the same gamble as everybody else because you don't know when the law's coming. So he gave us the option. Do you want to work here? Do you want to work here? So we would pick whatever we wanted. And the key to it, the big operations we had, was having enough water. That was the whole thing. You got to have a lot of water.
And good water.
And good water.
Good water.
Which is great for our location out through these mountains. You know, the best water in the world comes through out of these mountains here in these Appalachians. And we can't get any better. You can't make any better liquor anywhere because of the water in our areas. And that's what it was all about. And we had to have a spot had to be fairly level. Had to be fairly level. You had to be within a certain distance of the creek. You know, we could pump water 1,500 feet with a double action Demings pump. And most time we were up on the hill, the creek was way below us. But we always had to have a pump, you know, and you had to make sure that you could get to the water. Without the water, you've got nothing. That's the whole heart of the whole thing. You had to have a place to go in. If you're coming off the main road, we would try to look for a spot. If we could turn down somebody's driveway, that was an ideal place, because that way would be no mud coming off of the road onto the main road. If they came by the law, and they patrolled constantly, and they flew constantly, had task force on all the time. And if they saw mud coming out onto a hardtop road, they would follow that mud where it come from. So if you're just crossing a field and that field isn't going anywhere, if you had a barn in that field, then that was ideal, because they would think you're going to that barn. If you had a house somewhere in that area where you turn off, that was ideal. But if you just turned off, went down through the woods, you better believe one thing: you wouldn't last long, would you?
Yeah, and that hunting, right here, when that hunting season come, you was in a dangerous time period.
Yeah.
Till it ended, you know, and
deer season, all people didn't want to tell on us, but they just weren't thinking.
They didn't think. A lot of them probably didn't think they was going to wind up sending you to jail. But I've seen them come and trespass on the land and hunt on Sunday and use dogs, and all three of them was illegal, and they'd run up on your still and they'd go right straight and report you. You know,
that's one thing. That's a good key right there. Not being too close to people. Most of the time, we try to. The further we away from people, usually the longer we lasted. Now we have worked in like around the town limits of Rocky Mountain.
Yeah.
You know, we've been real close to people, but you had to. Well, I don't think we ever stayed that long in it.
Well, and like you said, you know, usually if a spot was easy to get in and level, you didn't get stuck, you wouldn't be there a month. But if you went in somewhere who was down a cliff and you had to work yourself to death and unload your stuff 2 or 3 times, you'd stay there from now on, wouldn't you?
That's right. Strangely enough,
it just went hand in hand, I guess.
The rougher it was, the longer it stayed.
Yeah, the rougher you worked, the more you had to handle it, the longer you stayed there. We had stills we stayed 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
At the same spot, you know.
You figure you take a load of sugar or grain in propane tanks, like those 100-gallon propane tanks. The tall ones about, 5 feet tall?
Oh, yeah.
We'd use 16 of them a week. 16 of them a week. And sometimes we'd load it here. We'd go to steel site. We'd have to load it on another truck because it's so rough getting into steel site. We'd have to take it off of that truck, put it onto another truck, a Jeep, work it into the steel site, then take it off of that Jeep and get it to the actual steels. And then when we made the liquor, we'd put it on that Jeep, come out, we'd have to put it on the other truck, put it on that truck. Then we'd have to go to the storage house and we'd take it off of that truck, take it into a basement to store it, and go home, load the truck up with a load of sugar and tanks for the next day, and do it all over again.
Do it all over again.
All over again. Yeah.
And not counting the times when you was going in, how many times it would sink up and get stuck. You'd have to unload it and jack it up and put rocks in the hole and then put it back on there again.
Yeah.
There wasn't nothing easy about
Nothing easy about it.
There was nothing easy about it.
Nothing easy about it. We come into sight one time and was getting ready. We just drove in and real quick, like we looked and we saw our caps and worms was gone. Somebody done hit us. But they dropped one of the worms right at the edge of the woods. So I grabbed a butcher knife off the thumper. We always kept a butcher knife on the thumper to clean stuff up. So I went running down the hill toward the creek because that's looked like me. That's where they were going. Because I thought we just pulled in on them. So we don't work their butts, man. So nobody was there. But we ended up walking out there. I passed about a half mile and they had dropped half of our equipment off in the woods and we found it. But we had to move. You know, we had to move. You can't, if the thief is going to steal from you,
man steal from you, he's going to put you in jail.
they're going to tell on you.
You know?
So we had to move. We
That's
had
right.
several occasions like that, but yeah.
I remember Henry had a good big steal down there one time, and the flood come through. Harry reached him here, you know, up at that big tree, and it liked about that much of water going over the top of these steels and going there ruining them eyes. Well, here he comes, get made to happen. We get in there, and his truck sinks up out of sight, and we had to carry everything, 200 feet. We run it and run it and run it until the final we moved that thing. He moved it on out.
They didn't quite get in a mash.
Sure did. He'd come up, 3 feet. It liked about that much, and it would have ruined it. And being in a runner, we run the heck out of it.
We had some guys one time, we thought she stole some of our equipment. And we knew where they were working. We found out where they were working. But we didn't want to screw them up. But if they had our equipment, you can believe one thing, somebody's going to pay something. So we go in and we walk on logs. We stepped on rocks. We didn't want to leave a first foot track, field print, because we didn't want to mess them up if they didn't steal our stuff. You know, they trying to make money. We heard that they had our stuff. When we got there, they didn't have any of our equipment.
Didn't have it.
So we made sure that we didn't leave any tracks, nothing to screw them up, you know, so they could keep on working.
Yep, sure did. They kept on running it for a long time.
And real moonshiners never told on each other.
But if our stuff would have been there, it would have been a different story.
Yeah, we would have took everything that was ours, and we would probably took some axes,
retaliated to them.
We would cut them up, and then lightning might have struck one of the barns or something later on in the year, or something like that.
Yeah, you know, a rat and a thief. You know, lightning has a chance of hitting stuff, barns or something. You know,
just off the
that's
wing.
what they always told me. I mean, I don't know. I've heard stories.
His dad never would let us retaliate.
Yeah,
he didn't want us to anyway. We did, but he didn't want us to.
And his dad, he was dead against that retaliation.
Yeah, because there was a couple killings, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
You gotta watch how you retaliate against people.